Sometimes we need to put politics aside, even in this toxic climate, and take a step back. And this is one of those moments because last night, history was made.
For Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton.
And when the roll call was done, it was official. Hillary Clinton, as you know, is now the first woman to be a major party's nominee for president.
I can't believe we just put the biggest crack in that glass ceiling yet. Thanks to you and to everyone who's fought so hard to make this possible. This is really your victory. This is really your night. And if there are any little girls out there who stayed up late to watch, let me just say, I may become the first woman president, but one of you is next.
For some women in the Massachusetts delegation, being in the hole as this occurred is something they will never forget.
It was a fabulous, fabulous moment, and it brought so many tears to my eyes that I was here for this historic moment, and it was, again, finally, it's happened, and I'm so happy.
It was just that last bit, that last little crack in that ceiling that everybody's been talking about, and it just exploded. And pretty soon, there'll be no more ceiling, November 8th. There'll be nothing that'll have a barrier for us anymore.
There was also some other work to be done last night, and it fell to the man who has been dubbed the explainer-in-chief. President Clinton gave the keynote speech last night and tried to show the other side of Hillary Clinton, one that is warmer, more likable than the many voters think they already know quite well. He also made the case she's more than a career pal who will maintain the status quo.
So people say, well, we need to change. She's been around a long time. She sure has. And she's sure been worth every single year she's put into making people's lives better.
Joining me to assess how the rebranding of Hillary Clinton is going so far is Mark Preston. Mark's executive editor for CNN's political unit, and much more importantly, is an Arlington kid and a proud grad of UMass Amherst. Good to see you, Mark.
Hey, Jim. Thanks for having me this evening.
So in what Maureen Dowd in the New York Times called an amazing act of self-restraint, Bill Clinton didn't talk about himself, talked about her, tried to make her likable, accessible, talk about her as an agent of change. Was the sale made?
Well, certainly, the problem with having Bill Clinton speak, certainly before his wife, is that he is such a great speaker and is able to spin a story that is really captivating of the crowd, and Hillary Clinton is not. So last night, to your point, I think Maureen Dowd was correct, is that he was very biographical. He was trying to reintroduce his wife to voters, specifically skeptical voters, maybe perhaps those out in the Midwest, and you're talking about here in Pennsylvania, but as you move out into Ohio, perhaps even into Wisconsin, battleground states where Hillary Clinton has to reach out to disaffected white male voters. And I think that he did that last night. I think he started off a little slow. I think as he got along, his speech certainly got a little stronger. I'm
really interested to hear you say that because while clearly this convention has reached out to women and to children and obviously played up the fact this would be the first woman president of the United States, in that New York Times compilation of polls yesterday, I think you just referenced, while Hillary Clinton is winning virtually every demographic, she's being crushed amongst white males, particularly white males without a college education. Other than the fact that Bubba himself was up there, what was the direct appeal to that constituency where she's got to peel some people off the Trump bandwagon?
Well, let's pivot to where we're going to see in the next couple hours here, because that's a really interesting point. How are they going to sell Hillary Clinton, who's talking about being the change candidate? But let's not forget, she is coming out of the Obama administration. So even though while the economy has gotten better, and if you look at the metrics of the economy, it certainly has gotten better, still people feel the pain, and those people are these blue-collar workers. The trust factor with Hillary Clinton is devastating to her right now, and these are folks right now that don't trust her. So in the next couple hours, you're going to see a couple people up there. They're going to continue to make that case. You're going to see Joe Biden, who is about as blue-collar as blue can get, and does very well doing that. And Tim Kaine, if you go back to Saturday when he was introduced to the nation, basically standing next to Hillary Clinton, not only did he exceed expectations, but if you talk to people that are close to Hillary Clinton, they will tell you they've never seen her that comfortable being next to somebody, certainly as a running mate. And Elizabeth Warren, Jim, as well, on Monday night tried to do the same thing.
One more thing from last night before we move ahead, Mark. One of the most powerful moments was 9 mothers of the movement, as they call themselves, walked on the stage, lost a son or a daughter to either violence, police kind, some other kind. The mothers of Sandra Bland, Trayvon Martin, Jordan Davis spoke. But I was convinced the second they left the stage, we'd see the widow or the relative of a cop who'd been killed in the line of duty. We didn't see that. One, were you surprised? And two, was that gap noticed by the crowd?
Not necessarily noticed by the crowd, but it's something that I noticed and you noticed as well. And I think it was a misstep by the Clinton campaign, because when you have those mothers up there, you're basically reaching out to an urban audience and trying to show that you have empathy for them. But look, you have a lot of people in law enforcement right now that feel like they are under attack and that they're not getting the help from Washington and our national leaders. Had you seen the wife of a slain officer or a husband of a slain officer, that would have been very, very powerful. But I do want to say a very powerful moment, though, certainly for me last night, and you said it at the top, when it comes to politics, breaking the glass ceiling is very interesting. Hillary Clinton could have got nominated for the Republican Party last night, and I still would have had a tear in my eye, because I do have an 11-year-old daughter, and I think a lot of parents watched that. When that camera zoomed back and you saw her surrounded by a bunch of young girls, that was a very powerful moment.
I have 2 of those daughters, and I felt exactly the same way. Let's fast forward to today. So Donald Trump does a press conference responding to the contention by some Democrats is that he may have had something to do with those hacked emails by the Russians, obviously the ones from the DNC. After denying that he had any involvement, he said this, Mark.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press. Let's see if that happens.
That was unbelievable, even by Trumpian standards. Gingrich said it was a joke. Mike Pence seemed to distance himself. Does this thing have legs, or is this yet another statement by Trump that just disappears into the ether with no pain?
No, I think it does have legs. And let me tell you, I had many conversations right after that news conference. Let me give you 2 line of thoughts from Republicans, okay? One line of thought from those who look at Donald Trump and say that he is reckless and they're afraid of him becoming the commander-in-chief. He's going to start getting briefings from our intelligence agencies, and their concern is that he will come out and say something that he has learned that should not be made public. The other line, though, politically, and this was from a New Hampshire Republican, very well known, I won't say his name, but he had an interesting take on it. He said Donald Trump was very successful today in taking the message off of Hillary Clinton and putting it back on him. Might not have been a good message necessarily, but he did derail the messaging for the Democratic Party, certainly for most of today, and I'm sure we'll see some of it discussed on the stage tonight here.
One last quick historical question. Bill Clinton, obviously star last night. We remember he really got his national start when he spoke endlessly for Michael Dukakis in 1988. Barack Obama's tonight. Right. He had his star moment at the Curry Convention in downtown Boston in 2004. I know it's only 2 nights in. Is there anybody other than maybe Michelle Obama who's had that kind of impact on the national audience at night 1 and 2?
I don't know. Jim, I think the Michelle Obama speech was amazing on Monday, because she was able to appeal to demographics. She talked about living in the White House, a house that was built by slaves, and watching her daughters play out on the lawn. Again, I'll play up my daughter thing here as well. She talked about watching her daughters get put into SUVs and driven away to school, and saying, what have I done? Now, as a parent, that said a lot to me. I think that Michelle Obama will come out of this convention. A lot of people are wondering, when is she going to run for president?
Go Minutemen. Mark Preston, good to see you.
Thanks, Jim. Take care.
See you.